Okay, we won't make you suffer too much. We know we're last. So, my name's Sivel, Andrea Castoldi. So, what my part is to do is how EASA is now going to follow the world that's being digitized. Today, EASA's IT systems are more to the left. We have a lot of systems that date back to that time, and a lot of you are on the right. And what we have to do is move EASA from the left to the right, so from the 20th century into the 21st century. It's easier said than done. What do we need to do? First of all, EASA has to start managing data. We do a lot of managing of documents, a lot of managing of papers, a lot of managing of wet signatures, certificates, things like that. We have to start seriously managing data. Secondly, we have to harmonize our standardization journeys, our certification journeys in such a way that we can digitize them in an easier fashion. We issue a lot when we oversee a lot of organizations like DOA, POA, and others. And a lot of these journeys have slight differences. Sometimes are based on regulation, but often are just based on habits. So we have to do a lot of work to harmonize our certification journeys. We also have to break the silos. Like every organization, we have silos. We have people who work in DOA, people who work in POA, people who work in ops, and et cetera, et cetera. So we have to start breaking the silos so that the data we've created can move from silo to silo. Then we have to improve our agility. A lot of the things we do today are quite slow. And sometimes we're very slow in upgrading our systems. So we have to learn, like many of you have done before us, to be more agile and quicker in the way we adapt to what's happening. And also, because we're digitizing, we have to review some of the job profiles we have in EASA. The way we did business, let's say 10 years ago, won't be the way we do business in 10 years once everything has become digitized. So all this is what's ahead of us. It isn't just having brand new IT systems in place. It's a much wider effort that's being done, and that effort started 2 years ago under the auspices of Patrick Key. And in the last 2 years, we've had a year of preparation, and now we're actually beginning to purchase IT systems to review our processes, and soon you will see the first results. The first system we bought is the new digital identification and authentication system, and you will see that enter into force in January or February. So slowly you will start seeing on our website, on the way you relate to us, new systems appearing. What it's not about is having PDFs and scanned certificates. What it's not about is keeping the old processes alive without any change. What it's not about is running one application for each task we do. What all this is not about is using the old system and waterfall, and when you ask for something, we spend 3 years working on a new system. And what it's not about is staying with paper and manual processes. Many of you now use digital and use data in your daily work. We have to be able to do the same thing. So what's the plan? First of all, we have to work on our information management. We have to change the way we used to work and go from document management to information and data management. That's underway. We now have a team of people who are working very hard to transform what we used to do into a more digital and data management approach. The next step we have to do is connect to you digitally. That means secure our accesses. Make sure that when you connect to us, you have the same level of security as the level of security that you would expect. What we also need to do is have common interface, the same look and feel, so that when you work with us, it's the same, and you can sometimes also work with us using your own systems. So to have machine-to-machine links, so you don't have to change or to adapt to our systems. And finally, we have to start having data analytics so we can share the data and do analytics together and be able to improve our efficiency together and to improve our knowledge of the system together. The third step will be what we call external digitization, and that will be the use of machine-to-machine, artificial intelligence, and to cut a long story short, to offer new products. When you become more digitized, and when you start having digital products, let's say, for example, predictive maintenance, we will need to be able to have the digital systems that accompany that move to predictive maintenance. So it's also all about you. We've already developed a certain number of digital and agile flows inside EASA. There's one on resource management and how we manage our resources. That's already started internally. There's another one which you'll see coming out with the new fees and charges in January, and that is the one about data exchange and the contact you have with us. And the third flow, which will start as of January, is the digital processes. So in the coming year, the people who oversee you will have a digital tool to help them do their oversight. It will no longer be paper and PDFs and things like that. To be able to do that, we have to stay in touch with you. There has to be interactions. We have to understand what your needs are. We have to have constant interactions with you. When we simplify the process, it also has to be a simplification on your side. We can't just simplify the processes on our side and digitize the processes on our side. You also have to be involved in the digitizing of our processes and their simplification. Therefore, we have to be proactive. And we'll soon be organizing meetings next year with the people who use our systems or who interact with us to see what sort of digital change you expect from us. Finally, we will also need to have trainings inside EASA to better understand not only our digital systems, but maybe also and probably to understand your digital systems and to better understand how you have digitized, for those of you that have already made the crossover to a more digital world. And the final thing we have to do is we have to work on making the work people do more fun and more interesting. If digitization means making things more complex, more difficult, more boring, people will resist, will not move towards a digital change. So we have to work a lot on what we call user experience and make that easier for people to use. So we need you, and we will have interactions with you on how we build the systems. You're our stakeholders, and you will be our interface. So we need to be able to work with the larger counterparts, but also the smaller counterparts, the medium-sized enterprises, to be able to build the systems that function for you. We can't just build the systems for one or two companies. Digital change is about everybody. When you're changing, and we have to accompany that change, and we can't guess what you're doing. So we're going to have to interact to be able to build the systems you need. That's why your systems will make the difference, and we've named the focal point, who will be the manager of what we call the transformation office inside EASA, who will work on transforming EASA and making us a more digital agency. And that's Christopher Holgate-Romanov. Some of you already know him because he used to interact with you in the past. And that's about digital transformation.
Okay, so welcome everybody. Since this is the last presentation of the day, I will promise it will be light.
There's one more.
Okay. Okay. So as you have understood from the presentation from Eric, there are big changes in all the EASA IT environment and all the way to work. And SEPIAC, as you have probably understood, is a piece of that. And then the focus of my presentation is really how is SEPIAC integrated with this one, and how is SEPIAC doing in all this. So the first thing to say is that SEPIAC is doing quite well. In the last couple of years, we have seen the number of projects that are being managed and the number of companies using it ramping up quite steadily. We could also see that in May this year we had a big ramp up of organization using it due to the fact that we moved the full ETSO projects inside SEPIAC for the new application. As you can see, that this is quite stable, the way that it is used by us, by industry, and by our NAA partners. Has been quite clear from the presentation of Eric that things are changing, and also SEPIAC will flow inside the Coral and inside, let's say, a bigger environment and framework. But what happens in the meanwhile? In the meanwhile, we are working to improve day by day the functionalities, maybe not huge improvement, but something that could help the use of the platform. For example, in September, we rolled out the version 251 that reworked the global landing page table in order to give more meaningful information, included a couple of new status for the compliance documents, some new content types, some additional metadata, and also tweak some other settings like the ETSO. Applicants now will just drop a document and by default it will be the ETSO deliverable. And several others under the hood, like minor changes, but they help anyway the day-to-day work with the platform. In October, we continue and we included the main functionality linked to the quality feedback. As you know, in the framework of the LOI definition, EASA is also working in the definition of a better system to have feedbacks from the certification team back to the applicant. So everything is linked to the LOI concept. Probably most of you don't see this functionality because it's mostly from the certification side, but today the mean is really just to give you an overview and see what is behind and what we are working about. And in parallel, we are now working to improve. So what we have released in October was just the first idea. And then with the target of end of this year, beginning next year, we will improve the functionality, especially for our PCMs and expert, in order to have a better usability of the tool. So this is, I don't want to go through all the question or all the details. It was just to be an idea what is about. So the quality feedback used to be in our technical visa and expert standard of satisfaction, and were mainly few questions where you could reply low, medium, high. Now the project that has been run inside the EASA is to give far more granularity to these questions. So we will have 4 areas. We have the project planning and communication, the applicable requirement and means of compliance, the compliance data, and the on-site activities. And for each of them, there is a number between 5 and 7 questions. And so some pre-made replies that they tend to fall always in one of the 4 categories between satisfactory, let's say partially satisfactory, partially unsatisfactory, or totally unsatisfactory. In this way, this will be filled by discipline, not only by panel. We will have a far more granular feedback from our team to be discussed and to be managed by the DOA team that then will discuss with you. Okay. And you can see not all the question will be mandatory. Some of them yes, some of them no. The one with the not applicable can be the one non-mandatory, but there will be always a minimum of information that will enable the DOA team to work. And just to close the loop, I started to say that SEPIAC is a part of Coral and is flowing into a bigger environment. So at the moment what we can say is that on the short and medium term, the SharePoint is the technology that we use as a document management system. And probably in the future, on the medium term, you will not see anymore SharePoint as a front system, but you will see it in a better environment, in a more user-friendly interface that will help you to work. At the same time, as already said, there will be some integration of enablers needed. At the moment, SEPIAC has its own user base, and this will be migrated into a bigger identity and access management. And the same, we are working towards a definition of an enterprise service bus that some of you may know as machine-to-machine interface, in order to allow an automatic transfer and management of document between SEPIAC and the industry document management systems. So this was a light presentation that gives the status on what is what is going on with SEPIAC and where we are going in the area of the IT tools.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Andrea. And I think we have a few questions in Slido.
So the first one is, I think, is on me. Can SEPIAC extended to include the use by NIA when processing certification project on behalf of EASA? This is common practice, is already done by long time. When we have a mixed team, the certification expert or the project manager in the NIA has access and has exactly the same rights as an EASA staff. The advantage of SEPIAC is that in the moment is hosted in the cloud, so we don't have any issue in granting access to external entities.
So yes, there is a roadmap, and I think it should be shared on the website. So we'll see to make sure that there is more information given to you on the website. So far, year one was end of 2017 till mid-2018. It was the preparation phase. I came to see some of you actually during that period. Then mid-2018 to mid-2019 was the transformation of EASA's IT systems into agile systems. So we went from waterfall to agile systems. That was the change of philosophy inside EASA. At the moment, we are busy buying the different platforms. So we're buying 4 platforms. The first one we're buying is the digital access management platform and the security platform. The second one we're just about to buy is the low-code programming platform so that we can accelerate the way we work. The third one that will be bought will be SAP PO, so therefore the machine-to-machine. And the last one we will buy is the data platform and the data lake or data puddle, depending on how big it gets. The idea is to have digitized internally by 2023 and then to propose new products from then on. But we'll put all that on the web.
How could we submit large analysis file and largest videos via SEPIAC? Well, SEPIAC doesn't have really has the same limitation as SharePoint. It's based on SharePoint 2016. So if there are no network issues, it should be able to handle quite big files. I never tried, to be frank myself, with something bigger than 200-300 megabytes. I don't know if here in the question we are talking about gigabytes of files or only few hundred megabytes. But I never experienced myself big limitation on these aspects. The next one is on me as well. Yes, at the moment we haven't invested so much in the KPI discussion. There were some, I mean, we have introduced already with, I think was version 2.2, some average KPI, and then we haven't invested too much more on that one, considering that with all the takeover from the Coral, this is something that is more, let's say, it's more treated in a wider scale than just in this tool. And would just record a change status of a document.
Okay, Andrea, maybe for the next question, the 2 purple ones, will the detailed questions and ratings made available to applicant with rationale when needed? I think that's the aim of the system. There were 2 other questions that are gone. The plan is that we share these detailed questions with industry and the CCOM, I think, at the meeting next week. And from then it will be also shared with everybody afterwards. Will SEPIAC become mandatory for DOA? I'm not quite sure whether that has been decided yet. I don't think so. But
I think is still in discussion. Of course, with moving to the quality feedback, we would need to have each project created in SEPIAC in order to have a consistent reporting structure. Otherwise, we will have holes. And I think here is mostly due to the fact that we need stronger infrastructure to exchange data before putting in mandatory, because especially for bigger projects, if we include it as mandatory, it would mean that someone will have to manually input a lot of documents and to manage them afterwards. So this was the reason why currently we haven't set it as a mandatory, but just as a support to the projects. For the extension to the continued airworthiness and DOA, at the moment there are not plans to tackle it in a systematical way. Of course, we have the possibility since I think it was the 2.5.1 to open generic projects with externals. So we could always create a generic project for continued airworthiness with one applicant. But at the moment, with the transition to Coral, we don't have anything in the plan to really develop something specific for DOA and continued airworthiness activities.
Okay, thanks Andreas, thanks Eric for the update.